They say the only thing that's certain is change. Well, our friends at Tonic really know about that. We know them as one of our very favorite punch companies, but they have also introduced cutting dies, and they're really, really neat.
They are neat, and there are 8 new cutting dies that we have, and they do match their border strips and punches, and we have all of those as well.
And most importantly, we have some marvelous things that you can do with these. Come play with us. Okay, well, here are the 8 cutting dies. Now, there's actually 4 designs. You get each of them in a circle or a square or both, whatever you choose.
Right, and we have vine, butterfly, daisy, and Celtic designs.
And they each measure 3.5 inches across, so just to give you an idea. So we're going to start with Celtic. So let me scoot these. So just so you can get a close-up of them. And now, so what can you do with them? Well, let's start with the first one. This is obviously the circle, and this is a 5-inch square card. And what I love about it is that this just frames whatever you want to have perfectly.
Right. What you need to know about the die cuts is that the cutting dies rather, is that they don't cut out the center. Right. So this isn't going to be a frame on its own, but it's going to give you a backdrop to work with.
And this has a pretty smooth edge just going around. Now, we did put the black rhinestones along the inside.
Right, and they come in a strip like that, so you don't have to lay down each one. They come in a line, and you can adjust them. And this was embossed on the center with one of our greeting stamp sets.
And if your eye is going to those marvelous flowers, let me show you. They come in a collection of 9, and they're from our friends at Petaloo, and they're a new item for us. And what I love is, as you can see, there are different flowers, and some have the tulle.
Some have the tulle, and I love that part of it. It makes it just a little sparkly and ethereal even.
Right. So the teal, there's red, there's ivory,
lots of colors.
There's black, there's mocha, and the teal that we've already used some of them.
They're beautiful.
But I think they're spectacular, and I'm very excited about having them.
So this is the Simply Susan paper pack, which normally you would think of purple, but there's a lot of these other colors. And I love these strips of fabric tape. That we have a whole line of different colors in that one, so you should look for those too. They're fun to work with.
So the learning of this is, okay, this is what we can do with just one.
Right.
Then the next question is, what might we do with multiples? Well, how about this? Wow. How about this? Now, this is a combination of the metallic gold paper. This is 12 by 12 sheet. It's not super in-your-face shiny.
Right. It's just it's a very nice highlight. It makes it look really classy, I think. So you've got the gold specialty. You've also got red suede paper back there in these half rounds, so you can cut a full one and then cut it in half. To get that look.
Now, this is also using one of the border punches, and although this is called Celtic, someone who's sitting to my left decided to use a different one.
Yes, this is the doily border punch. We actually have a Celtic border punch, and they come in a border or a strip punch, so you can get a strip of a piece of paper with that design on the center, or you can just edge your paper with the border punch.
Right.
And doesn't that match perfectly with that Celtic design?
So it wasn't really a mistake. It's what we call a happy accident around here. But what I love is that you've done it 3 times. So on the black cardstock, on the metallic gold, and again on the black cardstock on the inside.
On the inside, so you can see that from the back.
Yeah.
And I love the border punches because you can decorate, every once in a while with these jewel dazzles. But this is an example of taking one of these die cuts, cutting them in half, and placing them here.
Right.
Or you can take a full one and cut it in quarters, and that's how you get that corner treatment there.
Very neat. Now, this is also using the 3-pack of Holly Dazzles and just doing a beautiful job of accenting those circles.
These are so much fun because they're just covered with this holly, so you can just layer all the different little sizes and you can see them right through that border strip there.
And I do want to tell you one thing, that this is running out, and we're not going to be able to get any more before Christmas. So if this is of an interest, I just want you to know that. So
does that mean get them now?
It sort of does.
Okay. So these are the red glitter Merry Merry Christmas greetings.
And on the inside, you've done the same thing with the red suede, these quarters. Isn't that just so striking?
Doesn't it look sort of like a stage?
It does.
With the curtains off to the side.
It does. It's just spectacular. Now, if you want to take your cutting die and make the images larger, well, the answer is just do more of the more cuts.
And start stacking them.
Right.
And layering them.
So here's the square turned on point, and it's in the black twice, and they're matted on purple, and then once on white, but that's something different.
Right, it's not cardstock. Susan took the cutting die, she inked the edge with Versamark, applied the superfine white embossing powder, and embossed it.
Which I think is amazing, especially on things that are intricately cut, but we've seen it's gorgeous.
Right. This square you see on the center is just a piece of paper on point on the center to frame it, and I see black thin line dazzles around the edges.
And that is the Simply Susan paper tolls, so you can stamp the center. That'll be something else for you to keep track of. What else can we do to the center of these?
Right.
But just so the learning of this is that if that 3.5 inch isn't quite large enough, well, make it bigger by doing multiple cuts.
Expand.
Yes, and on the inside, one turned on point. Now this has been cut out of pattern paper.
And then matted on that black cardstock so you
Right.
can see it nicely.
And I think it's easy to forget about pattern paper because we get so involved in the cutting die, but I think it gives a beautiful look, and you can see that here. Okay, so that is with our Celtic. Now we're going to go into our daisy. Now the daisy again has a circle and a square, and then do you have the punch?
I do. So here is the actual border punch. We also carry the border strip, and you can find all those online or in the catalog.
Okay, so look at this absolutely darling card. Okay, we've got to get in close and see this.
Isn't that adorable?
Okay, if you do not have a photograph like this, grab a kid, bundle them up, and go outside and take a photo because it's darling.
It is. And then, besides using the daisy circle cutting die behind, these are also from the circles and scallops
So this
cutting
is
dies of our own.
the 8 circles and scallops, so it's going to fit nicely inside, this time with the scallop. Notice that this outside edge with our Celtic, it was a little bumpy, but looked kind of smooth. This is more of a scallop, so it's doing a nice job there. I also think it's interesting that a daisy punch or a cutting die, I don't think I would have thought of for winter.
For winter, right. But look, it matches right up with the winter flannel paper, and up at the top, you can see the little innies from the cutting die are placed on there like snowflakes. I just noticed something.
What?
Okay, I have to get back to it because we have to show the bottom first, and then I'll show you what I noticed.
Okay.
Down at the bottom, this is snow suede.
Right.
And the bottom of just the suede part is punched with the daisy border punch.
So look at this purple. It's been placed on the purple paper. Is this what you're going to do?
Well, I'll show you. Once you've got that, when you cut that strip, it's going to leave a little strip of paper that is of a scalloped design.
Don't throw it away.
Put it on the top.
Right. And then put daisy snowflakes on top. Just works perfectly. Very, very sweet. Just absolutely darling. On the inside, done another of the punch this time.
On the pattern paper. And then the border dazzles. And the Merry Christmas greetings.
Now, if this is the circle daisy, okay, scrapbookers, are you paying attention? Here we go with a 12 by 12 page.
And so when I looked at that small cutting die, how am I going to use that on a page that's 12 by 12? And I said, well, you're going to use lots of them. So we started out with the Simply Susan papers back behind, added a square of the violet suede paper on point, and then we just started stacking those square daisy die cuts, and not only on the pattern paper, but also on vellum. So you can see half of one popped up here above.
And that's the dot vellum. So you've got dots all over it, so that just adds a little bit more. As we're right here, I can see that those daisies have also kind of trickled over here.
Save the innies,
Save the
them
innies
elsewhere. And here on the pattern paper, before we place this over it, I stamped on there with shaded lilac distress ink, and I used the Serendipity Flowers stamp set.
I see that. We've got Be Happy, just a very light tone on tone with that. Now over here, I see some journaling.
Right. So on this one, it's still on the vellum, but instead of being on point, like its companion piece below, it is on the square side. So you turn it so it's sort of squared off.
So you computer journaled first ran it through the printer, and then came back and did your die cutting.
You can just lay that paper right over your cutting die and run it through that way.
Okay, and add that. You know, I counted, and there are 11 pieces that were cut with the cutting die.
And the border strip, which is back here, the border strip punch is placed behind all of it, so you can see it sort of peeking out.
Yeah, right there, and with those dazzles. So what an absolutely charming page.
So one cutting die, and you can get all of these die cuts to use on one page.
I don't know about you, but this is just good justification for the purchase, don't you think? Okay, so we've done the Celtic circle, we've done the daisy, circles and squares.
We're going to move into the
butterflies. Right. And there are lots of things going on this card. And this is the square as you're showing. So let's just get in and see. Well, the first thing that I'm noticing is some sparkle. I'm seeing a sheen. Not only has this butterflies been done, but also underneath the butterfly. Now, notice that edge has a butterfly edge, and that is interesting.
It is. So we're going to show you something about how to create that edge, but I'm going to start with that butterfly in the center.
Okay.
Amy created this card, and she started with the Serendipity Flowers stamp set, which she stamped on white cardstock with Memento ink. Then she used double-sided adhesive.
And let me tell you about that double-sided adhesive. This is not the Humongo. This is not the kind that is super, super sticky. It's really important for this technique that this type of adhesive be used. And we actually get it from Holland. So it is just made to be used with the glitter, and it works perfectly.
It does.
Now, I'm surprised that you're putting that piece on top of the stamped image.
Well, it's because you're still going to be able to see right through it.
And it's because Amy told you to do it, huh?
Well,
so you can get that sucker up.
You know, there are two ways to do it. You can either, I'm going to work on another quarter. You can either stamp onto the cardstock the way I did and put this on top, or after you're done with this, you can stamp on top of the glitter, which I didn't know you could do. It does work, but I kind of like the control of knowing where the stamp set is when I'm working. The stamped images anyway. So I'm going to start with the glitter. This is from Stampentus, the Crystal Micro Glitter.
Now, if you are not a glitter fan, I would ask you to withhold your judgment, because this is so fine.
It is like a powder.
Yes.
It is powder fine.
And besides, you can get just some wonderful, wonderful looks with this. In fact, we're going to do a whole webisode on using the micro glitter. And so you are burnishing this. You're really just rubbing it
in with my finger. So I just keep pushing it on around, and then I'm going to tap it off, because what we want to do is get as much off of that image as possible
And the rule of thumb is to do this 3 times. So you're not adding more glitter. You're simply continuing to burnish it in. It's just a light rubbing. And then each time, just like this, you're going to tap it off, and you're going to quickly see that there's not very much coming off. And that's exactly what we want. So,
and most of everything that is coming off is going right back in your bottle. So this stuff goes a long ways.
So let me lift this out of your way.
All right, so there is my glittered piece, and I want it to be colorful, so I'm using the Spectrum Noir Bright set, which looks like this. It's an entire set of, I don't remember
24.
24 in that set. And then I'm just going to use the orange and the yellow on this one.
Looks like she added some red on hers, so yours will be slightly different.
I'm starting with the broad point, and what is important about coloring on the glitter is to use an up and down motion, not a back and forth, or it's going to remove the glitter from what you're doing.
In fact, after you do the tapping, I think it'd be a good idea just to take a swipe on a scrap paper just to make sure that there's no glitter on your pen.
Sure.
And you may have noticed, if you are really, really observant, is that these pens are a slightly different shape. The Spectrum Noir folks have reconfigured their pens. They are now this hexagon barrel. It's got grippers on 2 ends.
So like rubberized.
Right. And the narrow end will have this gray stripe. The broad end will not have it.
So it's easy to find that fine point or broad tip end. I like that.
And in addition, they've actually even reconfigured the formula so it's even easier to blend. Now, we're not doing that in this project, but that's what has happened in the Spectrum Noir world.
So I am continuing to go
tap, 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 tap,
tap,
tap,
tap, tap, covering just the image of the butterfly. And then when I'm done, I would take my scissors and cut out just the butterfly so you can see on the card that just that butterfly is lifted up. So what she's done is she's glued the body down and put a little bit of foam tape underneath the wings so that they're lifted up, and she kind of curved them a little bit too. So that's one technique, and it's a doggone good one. And the other one is going to be this rainbow butterfly border that you see there. We're going to start with that adhesive paper. And before I do anything else, nope, that's wrong. I'm going to take the cutting die, set it on there. I would have a piece that is as big as this, but I kind of don't have one at the moment, but I'm just going to show you what I did, or what Amy did. You set it on there and you trace around it. And I'm not going to go all the way around, but I'm just going to show you. Once you've traced all the way around, then you're going to go back and cut out just inside that, because this piece is going to set behind this die cut piece. Right. So you want to hide the edge a little bit. Okay. So once you've traced around it, you've got that piece, then you're going to peel one side off of that double-sided adhesive, burnish the glitter onto it, and start using your pens to go around the edge and make a rainbow effect. Just the way we did on the butterfly. We're just going to start adding on. Tap, tap, tap. And notice you're only going in, about 1/2 an inch or 3/4 of an inch. So because the only reason we need to do this, and I'll show you, if I bring back in that white cardstock cutting die cut, you just set it right back on top of it, and voila, you see the butterfly effect behind it. Now, what did she use to attach this? She used this. It's called Stick and Spray, and it's really simple to use. You just spray it on the back of the cardstock, and then it will adhere to that. You can use a glue stick too, but I think this is a better way of sticking it all. What I'd like you to do, and John, will you get in really close, because I want you to see the butterflies, because that shimmer is just so pretty, and you've got this rainbow ombre look
under, all the way around. And I think it's just quite striking.
It's a beautiful technique.
Yeah, it is. On the inside, she has a great big stamp, same group. This is the Serendipity
Flowers stamp set.
And then I also note that you don't want to throw those butterflies away because you can use them. You've got them in the corners, those lonely little butterflies there. So quite a spectacular card. Now, scrapbookers, we haven't forgotten. We have a page also using the butterflies. And once again, let's go over to the corner.
And this one is with the butterfly circle.
Right. And this is another way, just like we did with the daisy and that little charming little baby all wrapped up. We've used the circle and scallops cutting die to cut out a photograph, but isn't that pretty how nicely that frames her?
And then follow around over to the edge.
Oh, one more thing. I just want to show. This is the 4-inch round white doilies that's behind the butterflies.
It perfectly frames that die cut too. It's just beautiful. Over here we have the little eenies just floating around.
Some fluttering butterflies above the friends.
And down at the bottom, all the way across the bottom, is the butterfly border punch was used.
Right.
So that's where you got some of those little eeny butterflies.
And if you wanted to do a scallop border, kind of like you did on the card, you could use that circular cutting die and cut them, do the cutting, then cut them in half and let them go across the border.
Look, here's another one of those little, that's what's left over from
this
cutting
piece.
That butterfly strip.
So you see the green piece right there. It came from that paper. Don't throw anything away.
We do have these buttons available.
We do.
The frosted buttons. It's a really cute, and they were actually sewn on, I think.
Very nice. Okay, so now we're into our last grouping of cutting dies. These are called Vine, V-I-N-E.
And this is the Vine circle cutting die.
Right. And again, doesn't it make a beautiful frame for something? So we've seen stamping, we've seen photographs, we've seen paper toll. Right. Now we have some dazzles that have been backed on the forest green suede here.
And then we have red stickles that were used around this cutting die to make it look like a wreath.
Isn't that just striking? And
this is the Christmas Sweets paper pack, too, in the background.
It is. And I believe that this is the design tool. I'm not sure which one, but the gallery will tell you. And then on the inside, this time, the cutting die has been done out of the suede paper. So
reverse the effect.
Right.
You can see the paper through that part of the cutting die. It's just beautiful.
It is just very, very striking. Okay, scrapbookers, we have an album page, and I must say I'm quite partial to this bride. She's my daughter-in-law, and Tansy, you can't tell that she's Australian in this, but she's there, and I hope she's watching. I'll have to tell her. But look what you have done with this cutting die.
I started out on the white truffle paper pack back there, and then I started by framing this photo with vellum, and this is the Swirls vellum, and that's using the square Vine cutting die.
Now, when I first saw this, I rather assumed it was the circle one, but it's a square.
No, it's that straight edge. And the way I did that, these photo corners, it turns out really nicely if you fold it and wrap it around those corners. So start with I folded this once already, but you can see, start with the square like this. You're going to fold it.
Now, before you fold it, let's just look. This is in the swirl vellum. So you're going to get, because the center isn't cut out, you're still going to pick up that design.
Sure. And you're going to fold this in half, point to point. Just, kind of eyeball it and get it as close as you can.
You want to be careful of those edges, don't you?
You do. The edges, they will tear easily, so I'm kind of like
gentle.
Yeah. Then I'm going to fold it again, point to point again. I just sort of match them up, match the edges up, and push that down. And I'm going to open it up again just long enough to use my glue glider to get that stuck together, just a little bit. You just need a little bit to get that half to stick together when you fold it. Okay. There. So now you've got a photo corner, and I'm going to raise it up, just the top layer of that photo corner. So all the other layers are going to be behind. And if this was the corner of my photo, I would just slide it in there like so. And there you go. You have a photo corner. And what I like is that it's wrapped around the edges. It gives it some depth.
Now, you may be thinking that, I can just take that square and cut it in quarters. You can, of course.
You can.
You're just not going to get this wrap, this very nice finish. Look. So, your choice.
And if you look at the scrapbook page, down on the corners, I actually did cut them in quarters and just laid them on top of the paper right there.
Looks like you inked too.
I did. I inked the edges of them with toffee fluid chalk ink.
So just a gentle kind of cream.
So this is the cut corner, and then over here is the folded corner, and I just kind of like that wrapped around look.
Now I love the bouquet that you made right here with a couple of layers of this cutting die.
2 layers of those cutting dies. Just one is square, and then here's the vellum one underneath, which is on point.
So pretty.
And then the labels were cut out here and down below with the other journaling from the layered labels template.
Now, this is the paper twine.
Paper twine. This is one of our new colors. It's khaki. And I like it because it's off-white. It goes with a lot of different things.
I have to tell you, I think the paper twine, I love it. I think it's really neat. I loved it when it came out 20 years ago. I love it now. But I don't think I would have thought about it on a little more formal layout with my tansy. So,
but it goes nicely, and you can unfurl it and flatten it out and glue it behind and have that big bow. There are also La Creme pearls. I just thought that color was just absolutely perfect with the colors of this layout.
It is beautiful.
They're self-adhesive. You can stick them all over the place.
I like how you did a double bow. Yeah. So is it physically 2 different bows put together?
It is. Yeah. It's 2 loops put together and then sort of tied in the middle with the little V's cut in the end.
Okay, so not only does Tonic have these brand new cutting dies, but you now have lots and lots of techniques for using them.
Different ways of using them, and you can mix and match them.
Yes.